3, 2, you're live.
Most people buy land when it is already expensive, but real wealth is built when you buy before everyone else knows. So in our today's session, we're going to have a conversation around how you can, how emerging locations create wealth in Abuja.
Yeah, so this is a very important conversation, and I'm very excited to be having this conversation with you today. And when we hear the word emerging locations, what do we really mean, right? So emerging locations are locations, right, as regards real estate, right, within Abuja that are not yet fully developed, right? They're not yet fully developed. They are still affordable, and they're now starting to grow. That is what emerging locations, really mean. Initially, to look like nothing much is happening there. They are not the most exciting place, to buy from.
Exactly.
At the moment, usually at the moment. But these are the places that tomorrow all indicators show, and of course, we'll be having that conversation today. These are locations that all indicators point to that there will be the next growing thing. That's why they are called emerging. They are not yet emerged, but they are emerging. That is simply what emerging location really means.
Okay, so how can these locations, like how do you build wealth? How do you create wealth with these locations? So I'm going to start with explaining just two things. Wealth is built in two simple ways. And the first one is appreciation. And then the second one is rental demand. Let's look at the appreciation, right? So now when we say appreciation, what do we mean? This is when you buy early, when you buy land early, when it is still very affordable,
Yes.
when a lot of people do not really know or have not heard about that location or that property. At that time, you come in and the only thing that makes you buy, maybe it's the faith you have. Right?
Yeah.
So, and as development comes in, the price of the land increases. Exactly. Now, that is where the appreciation comes in. Exactly. Remember, I said one, appreciation, how you create wealth. So when you buy early and at every milestone, now this development that comes in, it comes in different stages.
Yes.
There's an early stage, there's the growth stage, and then there's the full development cycle.
Exactly.
So for each and every of these stages of development, the price, or let's say the value of your property increases.
Definitely.
And at each increase, you're making money. At each increase, you're actually building your wealth.
Yes.
Now, for the second one, which is rental demand, I like to say this is mostly at the later stage.
Definitely.
When there's full development. But how does this happen? It starts from the development, from the appreciation stage, the early development. So once people start knowing about that location, the next thing is businesses begin to move in.
Yes.
Development as infrastructure begins to come in from markets, schools, access roads and all of that, they begin to come in. Now, at this point, there's an increase in population.
Yes.
And an increase in population simply leads to an increase in demand. So there's high demand for housing. And now this high demand for housing leads to a demand for rental income.
Yes.
Now for people, that's why we said rental demand, but later stage. So this particular stage just brings about steady rental income if you've taken advantage of this opportunity early, on time, at the appreciation stage. So
Absolutely.
you make money when you buy early, and you also keep making money as the area grows and develops gradually.
Definitely. The thing with emerging locations like this is sometimes people act and they want to know, they say something like they don't like this place is far.
Yeah.
Or Jeff, I have so amount, but I want to buy in this place. However, I also want to buy for investment sake, and I get it. Sometimes people buy places. When you're talking about emerging locations, a couple of people buy into places, and many years later, the place has not appreciated.
20 years later, it's still,
exactly, still the way it is.
Exactly.
And unknown to them, there are specific signs, all right, that makes it for a good emerging location. We have said that emerging location is a place that is not yet developed, right?
Yeah.
You haven't seen the potential fully in the place, all right? So how do you know that a place is good, an emerging location is good, even before you invest in the place? The first clear sign within Nigeria and in Abuja at large is good roads or new road projects. A few people jokingly say, "Oh, the only thing they need from the government is roads." Like once there's road in a certain location, they just believe that, see, just give us this infrastructure called road,
Wow.
and then somehow you will see, movement towards that place, and especially in a place like Abuja. In the city center, of course, rental income is pretty high.
Exactly.
The average resident might not be able to afford places like Uye, Wuse, Jabi, Central Area, Sokoro, etc. And so they work in this place. Of course, most offices are in town, but they live, in these locations. All they need is good road to town. All right. So good roads are one clear sign, or even if the road is not there, but it's coming, you can literally see the signs, like on the news, etc. Another is government presence, or even individual projects. Once the government has a presence in a place, for instance, let me use airport road. Let's use airport road as instance. Airport road Abuja has this city walk. It has the ECOWAS headquarters. It has on that stretch, and it leads to the airport as well. So you can see that stretch, there are a lot of various government projects ongoing. So those kind of things are indicators, definitely, that area is a good emerging location. You also will see of people migrating towards that place. Let me give an instance. So we have the Apple resettlement, Apple mechanic, and the Apple generally. You can see that place. Do you know that if you do a satellite image of that place, you see dense population.
Exactly.
Like you see houses together, you see people movement. Thank God for the roads that have been built there. Before now, you would also see traffic both in the evenings and in the mornings. Those are signs, that an area, all right, is emerging. So anything after those areas, so those areas, now let's use that resettlement and mechanic. Anything after that area now is definitely an emerging location, because the more population, the more people migrate, and the more they migrate, the more demand for, those places over there. So the point is, most times where road goes, people follow, right? And where people follow, usually money follows as well.
True. True, very true.
Yeah.
All right. So when we talk about buying early,
yes,
looking out for signs in emerging locations, or what you should consider before putting your money in that emerging location.
Yes.
What comes to mind? Like, do you ever think or ask yourself questions like, why does this even matter? Like, why do buying early matter?
Yes.
So there are a few reasons why you should actually buy early.
Yes.
And the first, or rather the top one on my list, is cheaper prices. Now, one of the biggest wins for you if you buy early is the fact that you get the best prices available. Now, especially when it comes to real estate, when you meet a property selling at a particular price, just know that that's the best price.
Actually.
Because in a couple of months, in the nearest future, you'd realize that truly that was the best price.
Yes.
You should have bought at the time,
Should
right?
have.
So one of the best things you get to enjoy is that most times properties in emerging locations are really, really affordable.
Yes.
So you get them at the best prices. I would say again that sometimes it's almost at the same price that the developer bought the property.
Absolutely.
They give you, why? Because you believe in them. You believe in the vision on paper, in the project so much. Your faith led you to make payments, right? So they like to reward that act of faith of yours.
Definitely.
And then the second one is you get to enjoy higher profits. Now, this is very simple. When you buy at that early stage, like we explained earlier, for every milestone or for every development that happens within the property and around the property, it adds value.
Definitely.
So for you, because you bought early, stage one, the price of your property has appreciated.
Yes.
Stage two, and if there are 10 stages, just know that the value of your property is going to appreciate or increase in these 10 stages. Now you get to enjoy higher profits compared to someone who comes when this location or this property has gone through the full circle of development, right? So you stand to enjoy, better prices, higher profits later. And when you wait until the area has become so popular, until a lot of people begin to talk about that place or there's full development in circle, you pay more.
Way
it
more.
Becomes very expensive.
True.
And then I think recently we had a price increase in one of our properties, and the client reached out to me and was like, I'm interested in this property. And I told the client the price for the plot size. They wanted a 500 square meters. And when I gave them the price, the person goes, it is expensive. And what came to mind is, where were you when it was?
Lots more affordable.
When it was more affordable, that was what came to mind. And I was feeling sorry for the client because he did not get this information on time. And this is one of the reasons why we're here for you today. We don't want you to be in the category of those people who would, later in the future be asking, come on, do you have properties that are not this expensive? I want something lower. So these are the kind of information we'd like you to always equip yourself with.
Absolutely. I also know that some clients, some people, just avoid emerging locations, and I really do not blame them. A couple of people have said that they've bought property somewhere before. I mean, no houses around, no perimeter fencing, no activity there. And a couple years later, they either the place is not appreciating or they lose the land. Like something happens and then they lose the land. So a couple of people have reached out to me and like, Jeff, if there's no activity around there, I'm not sure I'm interested in it, right? And so I get it. But like I always say, I think education is the problem. Most people don't know. You don't just know what to look out for. And right now, I want to show you a few red flags to watch out for before investing in emerging locations, right? It is not all bells and whistles. There are challenges that come with it. But if you look out for these red flags, you will definitely, avoid largely these challenges. The first is usually access, especially in a place like Abuja. So Abuja has a plan, right? And if you notice, almost everywhere, even the hinterlands, even places that are near the bordering states, the border states in Abuja, have roads or have plans of road. All right. So if there's no access at all, to the place, or there's no sign of access, then I would say you should avoid the place for now, because whether you like it or not, there must be access for people to want to reach there. All right. And in Abuja, one of the things that happens with FCDA lands in Abuja is that they like to build infrastructure before allocations start happening there. Or even as allocation is happening, they're building infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, I mean roads, right, into the place. Another one is when the place is too cheap without a clear reason. there's no reason why this place is too cheap. Like you can check and see if you have comparison of property within the environment, you realize that this is uniquely too cheap.
Yeah.
You know, that is a red flag. I'm not saying that there are no instances where you can get property that is relatively very affordable, but it has to be commensurate to the property within the environment.
Value.
It should like make sense. Okay, if it's a distress sale, let's understand that it's a distress
exactly.
sale.
Maybe the person needs money.
Exactly, and then maybe if it's a property of say 20 million and they're now giving you a distress sale of 3 million, you too now check them now. Check out. You know, which leads to the next red flag, which is documentation. Documentation. The documentation on the property has to check. It has to check. That is an emerging location. Does not mean that they will tell you that they are still the document is in progress or they've not registered it yet. You know, and all of that. And you can't see a clear document. If it's locations outside Abuja where they practice what we call customary land administration, where they buy from the chiefs, the Igwes, and the Omoniles, right? And then go to register with the government, then that's a different case. So there's a chance that you can do your due diligence properly, and then it may not be a registered property, but there's a clear, you know, transfer of title. The person transferring, if it's a family, all the family members are around and they are all in alignment. You know, things like that, right? But my point here is when there is no clear documentation or clear transfer of title, then that is a very, very big red flag. All right. The third red flag, right, that I'm talking about is when they are rushing you to buy.
If you don't pay today,
someone else will pay. Please.
When you hear things like that,
I'm telling you, just check it. Take a breather.
Yeah.
Take a step back. Take a breather. Tell them to give it 24 hours. I'm going to think through it.
You know? After 24 hours, run. That was a lighter note,
you know?
Anyway.
So they start telling you, oh, buy today. If you don't buy today, someone else will come and take it. Please check it very well. And you know, when you say, I understand there are timelines and deadlines, all right?
Exactly.
And that is for real. A good property does not stay long in the market. Trust me, it doesn't. However, you too, you should take some time, which leads me to my fourth point. Take some time to do your due diligence, right? So red flags are, like I said earlier, when no access to the place. Two, the land is too cheap. It's unreasonably cheap, right? Number three, there's no proper documentation, like there's no clear transfer of title. And then number four, they are pressuring you and not allowing you to even do your due diligence. That is a clear red flag. You can't say, oh, because it's not very expensive or because it's an emerging location, you will boycott these things
and just go ahead
and just go ahead. That is doom looming. You know. You know, and so you don't want to do that. You want to take your time and look out for these red flags. Emerging locations are good, but you know, these things are the things that can protect you as well.
Okay, so he just listed, or rather pointed out, the red flags that you should look out for. And I'm just going to, you know, will I say buttress?
Re-emphasize,
yes, you know, that you should carry out due diligence.
Yes.
So here are a few things. We're just going to list them that you should do, and how you should do them.
Yes.
You know, before you go ahead to make purchase of that land. So the first thing you should always check is the land title and the documents. He mentioned that.
Yes.
So how are you going to do this? You go to, in Abuja here, you go to AGIS, Abuja Geographic Information System, and then there you confirm if the person selling this property to you, if the name you're seeing there registered matches the name on the title documents. You also know if this person has the legal authority to actually sell the land to you, so you don't just buy nonsense, right? And again, when we talk about land title, we also ensure that you check if This one now, you're not doing it at Aegis, you're doing it at the Federal High Court. Yeah, you check if this land is under any form of litigation, if it is under government acquisition, if people are fighting over the land. So that you don't inherit anybody's trouble. Because I cannot imagine spending millions because you want to, you know, build wealth through real estate. And then at the end of the day, you're inheriting someone's problems, and then you're now spending money to bring yourself out of it. You know, that's not a good place to be, right? And then the second one is accessibility.
Yes.
Now, you can't just buy land where you can't access. It's not the type that you drive and then park on the road and then people now use leg to continue the journey. Or maybe the area is swampy when it's raining season. You know, so you check all of that. And some of these things, you have to check them when you go to sites to visit, which is the site inspection. So if you're not on ground to do your physical site inspection by yourself, you can do a virtual site inspection, or you can send someone that you trust and has good knowledge, you know, about real estate investments that would give you an honest feedback. Not someone that would tell you that the place is okay, the place is fine. The person will tell you that they have to drop on the road and trek to the estate or trek to the land, right? Just someone that will be completely honest with you, so you'll be able to make informed decision. And you also look out for what is happening around the area. Is it an area where growth is heading towards? Is it a place where, like Abuja expands? I would say there are a lot of things that make this city grow, and it grows from the inside, and it keeps spreading. It keeps spreading. So just look out for any form of expansion, growth, or development happening that is, you know, very close to the area. And again, does the area has future plans? I think you mentioned that already. What's the plan for the area? Are the government constructing, you know, access road to that place, or is an individual developer constructing a road that leads to that place? Find out for yourself. And the most important one is buy from a trusted and reputable real estate company. You can also check them out. Just make sure that this company is reputable. They have integrity, they have good track record, they deliver on their projects. Don't go and buy promises promises that they keep telling you we are going to, and then they never get to do those things, right? So just ensure you do these things on your own before you go ahead with your payments.
So I'm sure you'll be wondering, so okay, I've heard all of this. What is the next thing? So what next? What should I do next, right? Yeah, there are some opportunities right now within Abuja in the emerging location growth, you know, corridor. And one of it is Apo-Wasa. So Apo-Wasa is a location within Abuja currently that is developing, you know, I mean, so the growth is coming from Asokoro, Guzape, Gudu, Apo, and then is moving towards Apo-Wasa, right? This is a very good location. And just in case you're wondering, okay, oh, Jeff, oh, Priscilla, I've heard what you guys said. So what next? What should I do? Then we want to recommend Apo-Wasa. It's a good growth location, and we check all the boxes. You know, we talked about signs of a good emerging location. It checks all of the boxes, all the points that we explained, right?
Yeah. All right. So this is the point where we introduce you to something very interesting. You know, anytime I'm talking about these estates, you know, I'm all smiles. I'm super excited, right? So it is called Crystal Estate. Now, Crystal Estate is located in Apo-Wasa. Apo-Wasa, like you mentioned, is an emerging location, right? And it is just along the path of development. It is close to growing areas like Apo Main, Guzape, Asokoro, Apo Resettlement, Apo Mechanic, right? And then the interesting part of this is that where it is positioned, there's a lot of road infrastructure currently going on. Remember the signs he mentioned that where there is road infrastructure, maybe the government is interested in a particular location, it is a good sign, right? So Crystal Estate ticks that particular box. So it is located just 3 minutes to the Apokaushi Expressway. You can stand in the estate and literally see the express road that is currently under construction. And to add to that, it is also very close to the city center. By that, I mean places like Wuye. It's just 30 minutes drive. And then for a place like Asokoro, it is a third road from Asokoro Guzape all the way to the estate, right? And this is the kind of location that I don't like calling them early buyers, you know. I don't know the right word for it, but I'll just say people who look out to build wealth using real estate. These are the kind of opportunities, or these are the kind of places that look forward to investing. And now we're presenting you with this opportunity. So a plot here of 150 square meters currently sells at 7 million. And we have 150 square meters, we have 250, we have 400, and we also have 750 square meters, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, in Abuja, you don't wait for a place to become expensive, right? You don't wait for, I mean, I'm talking to you if building wealth through real estate, or you want to literally invest in locations or in places that are emerging. Like I said, emerging locations are places that are not fully developed at the moment, but have great potentials, right? So if you want to invest in kind of places, what people that build wealth through real estate, that's exactly what they do, right? I mean, if you're buying for the sake of, you know, where to build your house and move in December this year, then you're not the one we are referring to right now, right? But if you're buying,
it's not for you.
It's not for you at all. So if you're buying a place where, say, in the next 3-4 years, you're looking to either resell or build at that point with good margins, like fantastic margins. That's why I like to recommend that if you're buying in emerging locations, don't just buy one plot, buy multiple so plots. That a time will come when you want to sell off one and then use the money to maybe rebuild the other one, etc. Right? And so you usually enter early if you're buying in Abuja. You don't wait. There are people that have regretted over and over. I mean, just 2018, 2019, some people missed Wuye for 30 million. And right now they're offering them the same plot sizes for over 150, 200 million. You know, the same plot sizes. You know, so you don't delay if you want to build wealth in Abuja. And if this sounds like something you're looking for, if you found value in this video, or if this video gave you insight, or if this conversation gave you insight around emerging locations, and you want to take action immediately or secure your spot in Apowasa or any other emerging location within Abuja, you want to go ahead and call us on the numbers in the description of this video, or in the numbers, like, right, or something, so that we can kick you off on your journey of building wealth through real estate as soon as possible. You want to watch this video again, you want to share this with your friends, you want people that you love to see this information. They can avoid the red flags. They can also identify locations that are emerging. They should not invest in places that will lock their money down for years and years and years without end, right? So this is basically what we have for you today. I hope you found value in this. Till we come your way again in another amazing conversation like this. Stay locked, stay successful, and most importantly, invest in emerging locations. Enjoy a great day.
See ya.